It is time for our local business review, and we got lots of guests in-house. And one of them you're really, really familiar with because he's been on the show like a billion times, and he's our guest today. But before I introduce him, we've got Barry and Wendy, our regular, I guess we're all interviewers on this show. And we asked Tanner to come on the show today. Tanner Neubauer is joining us. How is everybody?
Hi, Kelly.
Wonderful. It's good to see you.
I got to turn my microphone on a little, louder.
I must be all nervous that you're here because I'm like all flustered and can't talk.
I am too. I'm getting butterflies from, how long has it? It's been a couple months, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
We used to have Tanner on the show regularly.
Yeah.
And we would talk about health and things like that. Well, then he got so
it was
busy.
just nonsense. We would just joke back and forth all the time.
Well, there was that too. But I'm so glad that you're here today because Wendy and Barry, we like to talk about local businesses.
Awesome.
And Williams IntegraCare.
Yeah.
Really.
As local as it gets.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And expanding.
Yes.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
even good. That's better news.
Yes.
So Tanner here is the practice administrator at Williams IntegraCare Clinics. Joined the team, a little bit over a year ago now?
A little over a year ago.
And you guys have been expanding and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So Tanner also, like Wendy and I, is a Princetonite.
Yes.
Go Tigers.
Barry's always like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing you guys from Princeton.
Representing the Otter Tail Empire, the western part of your listening audience out there in Fergus Falls. Somebody hear a lone voice.
It's so wonderful to connect with people from Princeton and our hometown and see what we're all doing in the community. So I'm so happy to have you on.
I'm
Thank
glad,
you.
Wendy, that you've stayed so well connected to Princeton.
No kidding.
And I'm not big on social media. LinkedIn is about the only thing that I, keep my eye on. And I see your posts all the time.
Well, there's no place like home. And, I'm in commercial real estate, so I primarily work in this area. But I have worked on some Princeton properties, and it's just so meaningful to work in your hometown.
Isn't it? That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, kudos to you. And I mean, as a Princetonite, you're making us proud. You too, Kelly. I love it.
Well, yeah, I moved away for 20 years. I'm not like, Wendy was like always connected. Well, I wasn't completely gone, but you know what I mean.
Right.
We want to talk to you a little bit about you being connected. You've always been connected with the healthcare industry ever since I've known you anyway. That's been a big thing in your life.
That's how we met.
And what attracted to you to the healthcare industry in the first place?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean...
A girl?
Yeah, a girl. Honestly.
I know
Have I told you this story?
I know this story.
Oh, man.
It's a girl.
For the sake of time and just your listenership, we need to have a different kind of beverage in our hand for that one. But, no, when I was in college, I was talking about this with some of our staff last night, actually. I probably had the most majors for somebody that was 6 weeks into his freshman year of college as anybody out there. I think I'm the record holder. I started in business, and then I was like, this isn't me. Horrible. I don't want to learn about economics and supply demand curves. Who cares? So I
Barry
jumped around
is shivering.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I jumped around a little bit, and then there was this girl on my dorm floor that I had a crush on. She was going to a kinesiology class, and I was like, "Great! I've always wanted to be a kinesiologist," and I had no idea what that meant. And I followed her to class, and I found out, hey, it's exercise science,
and you're like, "Well, I kind of like this."
Right, and that's such an up and coming field, especially as you consider the type of lifestyle and chronic diseases that our population is faced with. A lot of times, health and wellness and exercise, the role that they play in living a healthy lifestyle. So that was my degree, and then I kind of took it from there. My initial into my career, I worked as a personal trainer, and that's how you and I met, Kelly. And then it kind of diverged. I wasn't sure exactly what my long-term plan was, but I was really liking administration and the way that healthcare and policy needs to align with what our patients
sort of grew up
business.
He grew up a little
business.
bit in that first year of college.
Full circle from
you're back in my camp.
Yes, supply, demand, everything. I love it.
It takes a while to figure out what you want when you first go off to college, right? My parents were like, "You want to go to college? What?" They were like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "If you go, you pick a major and you stick with it, and that's it." And I'm like, okay, thank goodness I liked it and I stuck with it and I'm still doing that. But I think a lot I think go through what you do when you're young like that. You don't know what you want. You don't even thinking business in high school typically.
Third time was a charm.
Yeah. What about you, Barry? Did you were a third time?
Third time, I went back as a non-trad to St. Cloud State, and that was, speaking of home, that's why St. Cloud is my hometown, because this is where I got educated.
Isn't that crazy?
I've lived here the longest of my life. We kid about where we graduated from high school, but Yeah, I'm St. Cloud through and through.
Yeah. How about
Awesome.
you, Wendy? You went to kind of, we were like the same sort of mass communications kind of folks.
I started at St. Cloud State, then I transferred to North Hennepin, and then I received a scholarship to Hamlin my last 2 years, which was wonderful. So
Awesome.
private liberal arts college.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very. But then I came back to St. Cloud.
Came back to St. Cloud, and you,
never
were also
really
looking
leave.
for your path, and now you found it.
Yes,
You're doing great.
The communications.
Yeah. So
Cool.
now, Tanner, this is exciting because you work with Williams IntegraCare. I love Williams IntegraCare.
Oh, yeah.
They're awesome. What do you enjoy the most about working in the healthcare industry now that you've been in it for a while?
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously the pandemic has shown such a light on a lot of industries, and obviously healthcare is one of them. How, how are we measuring up and stacking up to the needs of our community? So healthcare is actually, it's a constantly evolving field,
Yeah.
much like many others. But one of the ways that healthcare, it's slow to evolve. We'll admit that, and we'll concede that.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that I feel really encouraged about the direction that it's going is that we're starting to actually listen and get feedback. It used to be like, okay, you'd go to the doctor, right, and take this and call me if you have issues, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it was a quick visit with the doctor. Maybe they made a house call at that point, but it was really like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and you listen to me and you don't question it.
Right. Good point.
And now we're getting into much more of a, from a population standpoint, we're talking more about how can we get on the front end of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of, most people listening are familiar with the fact that, okay, healthcare, Medicare, is it underfunded? Is it funded properly? Is it overfunded? The reality is we don't know, because we haven't paid enough attention to where our population is heading and what type of chronic diseases our population is going to be, getting,
Wow.
and what the real cost drivers are to healthcare. So it's been an ongoing process of figuring out, okay, why does healthcare cost so much? What are those cost drivers? And it turns out that if we can, figure out prevention before we get to, an out of control chronic disease state, that costs less for healthcare.
Right.
And the reality is that means better for the patient. So that's everything from, then it gets down to behavior from the individual standpoint. You get people that say, I don't like going to the doctor. I don't like going to the doctor. Well, back,
Okay, yeah.
20, 30 years ago, I'd probably agree with you. You'd sit in a waiting room and your doctor, you'd wait there for an hour because your doctor was behind,
Yeah.
and you didn't get to listen to you anyways. I mean, he didn't listen to the patient. It was not a good customer experience.
Yeah.
So from a behavior standpoint, that's one of the things in IntegraCare that we believe very, very firmly is that our customer experience, our patient experience is paramount. That's what leads to, better compliance to our care plans. That's what leads to better population health, to all sorts of things that we're trying to help our patients understand will lead them to a better life.
Yeah.
So,
And I am a testimonial, you may not know this story. So years ago, I had a car accident, and I found my way. I actually went to 5 different chiropractors before I found my way to IntegraCare Grand Roth.
yeah.
And that was the answer. But what I loved there is that you have that integrated approach. So they have, a medical doctor, physical therapist, chiropractor. Otherwise, you're going to all these different places. One would tell me one thing, one another, and here it's that integrated approach. And that, it was, it helped me tremendously.
And you probably
huge.
realize they do listen. Like you said, I feel like this is a perfect place for you, knowing you as a person all these years. And now that you're there, I'm very familiar with them as well.
Yeah.
Other reasons.
And someone answers the phone. Real people answer the phone, and they're from here. They're not from another country or out of state. Sometimes you call these places, and you're like, "Where are you from?" They're another
it's hard
state.
when you can't
or,
understand. There's a language barrier.
And so it's personal service, and they know you, and they'll ask, how's your family, or how's your business going, or it's a personal relationship.
Yeah,
Right.
you feel like I'm there. And you guys have been growing like crazy. So let's
Right.
talk about Williams IntegraCare. The first time I guess you guys were in Sartell.
Yep.
But now you've expanded.
Yes. Yep. So this year, we purchased 2 clinics in Foley. One was actually, we just purchased a building in Foley. There was a doctor that was practicing out of the building that he was retiring, so we purchased that piece of real estate. And the reason that I, am so specific about that is in the process of that purchase, we actually reached out to an adjacent physical therapy clinic, the Foley Physical Rehab, as it was known. And we purchased their building in the process and their business. So all of their staff and patients then in May became part of IntegraCare.
That's amazing.
And one of the things that has been so challenging, not challenging, so to speak, but when we think about our growth, is that from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm seeing all sorts of potential and, oh my gosh, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. There's such a high demand for our care.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if we did all those things, all those opportunities that we see to really just grow and expand and acquire clinics, and let's just get huge, we could do that. We would lose exactly the things that have made us so great.
Right.
And so, in order for us to acquire that physical therapy clinic, we took a lot of time getting to know their staff and getting to know who they were, getting to know their patient base. And there was just a perfect alignment. It worked out really, really well. I can sit here and tell you honestly, it was kind of a little bit serendipitous, not like, hey, this is part of the master plan. It was just like, it's not going to work if you don't match our culture. And so far, it's just been an amazing transition for us. So that brings us up to 4 locations that we treat patients out of. We do have a quick clinic in the Country Manor location in Sartell.
Yeah.
We, of course, our main clinic in Sartell, we just expanded out our lower level. We've doubled our space down there. And then we've got big plans for growth in the Foley community. We're just
really exciting.
Finding a lot of really positive things out there.
So now your second floor there in Sartell, is that going to be like a physical therapy area, or is it just a lot of different things?
Good question. So it's primarily going to be an extension of our primary care clinic. That's where we're seeing the most demand or the most need for, more supply, so to speak, or just more providers. But yes, we will. It will actually effectively double our primary care capacity. So,
more doctors coming on staff too, then, is what you're saying?
Yep. We're steadily recruiting more providers, making sure again that we, they meet our criteria or that they're trainable, that we can, teach them a little bit about how we've been so successful and why we've been so successful. So more providers will be in the mix. We don't want to, overshoot anything by any means, but we're right in the middle of those plans.
Good. So exciting.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about Dr. Hallstrom. We can't talk about IntegraCare without talking about him.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'll just start it with this. I've worked independently with physicians for the better part of my career, which is not long. I'll admit that. It's not a long career, but I've never met somebody with quite the integrity that Mark Hallstrom has. He is, and I've told him this before, that he's he's the last doctor I'll ever work with.
Wow.
Because doctors can be so frustrating sometimes, but only out of the goodness of their hearts, they chose a career of helping people and caring for people. But yeah, Dr. Mark Hallstrom partnered with Brownie Williams of Williams IntegraCare back in 2001.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we lost Brownie, Dr. Williams, in 2018. He had a terminal cancer diagnosis, and that basically left IntegraCare and everything that Brownie, who founded the clinic in 1981. So 1981 is when the clinic was founded. 2001 is when he partnered with Dr. Hallstrom, and then Dr. Hallstrom takes it over, 100% in 2018.
Yeah.
The transaction and the deal was made, in somewhat haste of, okay, we need to all of a sudden get some things in order here and transition this over. And then if you can imagine from his perspective, an amazing doctor, brilliant mind, incredibly loving, caring, compassionate, just acquired this clinic, a lot of things up in the air. And then all of a sudden we all know what happened at the end of 2019, early 2020. And, it just, a lot of things happened. And what's so awesome, and I think a testament to Dr. Hallstrom, his wife Gina, and their 4 kids, 5 kids. 4 or 5 kids. Yeah, 5, I believe.
Big family.
Yeah, big family, big family. Is that throughout that pandemic, they didn't lose a single staff member. I don't think they
Wow.
lost one full-time employee, and if they did, I'm missing it, and that's a mistake on my part. But out of 45 employees, they didn't lose a single one. Not one of them.
They made a way to keep them.
Which is incredible because healthcare is one of the big industries where there's been such burnout.
Yeah, such
Correct.
turnover. Yeah.
Correct. So,
Amazing.
Yeah, just an incredible family, incredible, family background and backing. And it gives us the foundation to where, when we're looking to hire or if we're, telling our story that, we don't just say we're family owned and family oriented. We really try to
truly.
live that
Yeah.
as best we can.
So we've got like 3 minutes left. I guess what this means is you guys are expanding, not too big, but enough where you're looking for the new doctors, new staff members. Does this also mean that the door is open for new patients?
Correct.
And if people are interested, how would they get in touch with Williams IntegraCare? What's the best way?
Great question. Go to our website, which would be IntegraCareClinics.com, clinics with an S. Give our phone number a call. Somebody always answers. We try
Yes.
to measure based on ring. So like by the 4th ring, the hope is that you will have your call answered. That's our standard. But that's 320-251-2600.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, super excited for Williams IntegraCare and
Thank you,
all
Kelly.
the changes and
and
the care
thank
that
you
you've
for-
taken to grow in our community. And thanks for coming in today.
I appreciate it very much.
They
you
are
guys.
very
Thank
lucky
you for
to
the
have
opportunity.
you in your position because I think with the growth, someone like you can just really, it's hard to focus on. Barry always talks about focus on the business as well as the growth. So you are just excellent in just leading the way to the growth and the
Definitely
future.
is.
And you're very passionate about what you do.
Super passionate and very fortunate for our team of people that they are the ones that really make it happen.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.
Great
It's
story.
so nice
Great
to see
story.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me and including me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Barry, Wendy, thank you all for being here again for our show.